What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Pokemarket Lab. Today I wanted to talk about something that I mentioned in my last video, and that was the conversation surrounding whether the Pokemon Company has adjusted print runs throughout the Scarlet and Violet release lifecycle. And to do that, to make that assumption, to have that conversation, let's go back and look at some numbers here on TCG Player from the start of Scarlet and Violet. We can talk about history a little bit here. So that brings us, of course, to base set Scarlet and Violet, which was really released without much fanfare whatsoever, and that's represented in the numbers here. These were easily purchasable for under $100, under $80, under $70 on TikTok with coupons for quite some time. And it's the conception around this set is that it's on a little bit on the stronger side for a base set, but this was during the time when Sword and Shield was still rocking and rolling, and the money just was not focused on Scarlet and Violet. And to be fair, there really wasn't anything in the Scarlet and Violet era to really pull that money. Again, this base set didn't knock it out of the park. It was okay, but it just wasn't anything special to really take everyone's focus away from Sword and Shield. So let's look at Paldea Evolved now. And still, when Paldea Evolved first came out, there, again, not much fanfare. The pricing didn't move, and no one was really looking at any of the chase cards in this set as being anything special. And again, this is represented in the numbers here. Look back to when it was released here. There was nothing special. Of course, we get the release spike in volume here, but the price really did not start to accumulate until we started getting into about the spring last year, and you can see this leg up. You can see that leg up in volume, and you can see that leg up in price. So there was a little bit more focus back on Paldea Evolved, specifically with that Magikarp. I've never been a fan of Paldea Evolved. I think it's an okay set. I think at some point here, when we started to see that leg up in the spring of 24 here, I think a lot of that was the price was really approachable, and I think people were finally starting to at least look at Scarlet and Violet and say, hey, there's a lot of, there may not be some amazing sets, but there's a lot of value here compared to where prices are in Sword and Shield. Remember, in the spring of 24, we really started to see some leg ups in Sword and Shield product, hitting over $200 a pop for Lost Origin, Fusion Strike. So some of these boxes, I mean, getting Paldea Evolved at under $100, $110 a box was pretty spectacular compared to what we were seeing on almost anything in Sword and Shield. So I think people were kind of grasping at straws, which is why this legged up a bit. But again, the demand that people talk about in Paldea Evolved being a really good set is just not represented in the numbers. We have seen this. I mean, we've peaked at, we're about $135. We never hit $150 on this product. And look how much it's sold, 2,600. We still have 200 boxes available here. Average daily sell-through is okay. But as we look at some of the other sets here, the demand is just not there for this product. It really isn't. So let's go down further down history here, recent history. Let's look at Obsidian Flames. There have been more boxes sold of Obsidian Flames in Paldea Evolved than TCG Player. Let's kind of let that sink in. I don't think that means necessarily that Obsidian Flame is a better set. It's not, because it's really just the Zards. That's where all the value is. However, if you see those Zards in person versus a Magikarp, again, this is all subjective. Just my opinion. I think those Zards are better every day of the week. And the pricing on this product was low. Again, you could easily get this for $85 shipped without coupons in TCG Player and elsewhere in actual retailers online. So there was plenty of this product available, and you can see it's actually doing pretty well. We're up to $130 a box now, which isn't that far off from Paldea Evolved. And I think, again, people are realizing that those Zards are awesome. Box prices were great, really approachable from that standpoint. We've seen a 36% increase in a year on this product. So this is not the dumpster product that people were making it out to be, not in my opinion. Paradox Rift. Look at the volume. Look at the total sold number on this versus, again, Obsidian Flame and Paldea Evolved. So this is when I think we started to see the shift over to Scarlet and Violet. This is the start, I think. when people started to focus back on Scarlet and Violet and say, hey, this is these prices are depressed here. Look at this, right? Under $100 a box, $90 a box. There's some value here. There's some good box prices, and these cards aren't bad. And if you look at the cards in Paradox Rift, and when we look at Temporal, there's some really decent cards in there. It's not necessarily a Lost Origin, certainly not an Evolving Skies, but there's plenty of value, and for those box prices, it just makes sense. Look at that volume. So this, to me, this is not... Look at how much is still available on the market. We get over 400, almost 400 boxes available still, 73 sellers, and we've seen more total volume sold on TCG Player than Paldea Evolved or Obsidian Flame. So I don't think this represents any kind of adjustment in print numbers. I think, if anything, this just represents that focus shift from Sword and Shield over. And you can sort of see it in the numbers here, right? So we see, look at March 24. This was when Sword and Shield was still hot. This is the summertime here when we start seeing this product start to appreciate. And again, that's when I think that spillover effect was happening in Sword and Shield, where we were hitting that $200 to $250 a box total cost. And I think for market prices, and I think that focus was like, hey, look at Sword and Shield. I mean, I can get almost 3 boxes depending on the set for the price I'm spending for 1 box in Sword and Shield here. Maybe we want to scoop some of this up, and I think that's what this represents. But again, I mean, the total number of boxes sold and what's available in TCG Player for Paradox Rift does not represent a change in reprint numbers. If anything, it means higher numbers, or it just means we're at least seeing a sell-through rate change, right? We have to be careful here, because TCG Player does not represent the entirety of the market. So let's look further on here. Temporal Forces. Now we see an even bigger increase in total boxes sold here. What's amazing about this is we really haven't seen a huge price increase here. We have far less boxes available on TCG Player, but a lot of boxes sold. Plenty of sellers still. And Temporal Forces, again, I think we're still starting to see that shift over in total volume, in just allocation of money and allocation of capital over to Scarlet and Violet. I think that's really between that and Temporal Forces and Paradox Rift, I think, is really when it happened. And then, of course, we go over to Twilight Masquerade, and we see, again, very high volume total sold. But what we're seeing here, what's different in Twilight Masquerade, is there's a lot less boxes available online. There could be a couple causes of that. One thing that I think happens sometimes is that when local game stores, online retailers, all that, right, when they stop seeing that demand outside of TCG Player, that natural organic demand through whatever sales channels they have, I think TCG Player becomes a fallback, right? Some of these sales channels, they can absolutely get a better price versus TCG Player, right? TCG Player is that consolidated market where pennies matter, right? When you have your own, whether it's a local game store or an online retailer, people will pay a little bit more for that product there. So when that demand starts to slow, I think a lot of people start falling back to TCG Player to try to move product to at least get capital back, right? Their margins are going to be lower, but they can move that product. So with a product like Twilight Masquerade, I think those other retailers have certainly dried up. I think this represents, to me, a set that was shorter printed than everything else in Scarlet and Violet, right? Because we had a ton that was sold in other channels, and we're just selling even more of this. I think they cut the print run for Twilight Masquerade. I don't think they did any adjustments for any other of the other sets in Scarlet and Violet. We're seeing so many boxes left here on TCG Player, and we're just not seeing that in Twilight Masquerade. 125 boxes. Price is still up there. That's the only thing stopping it from going, from depleting the rest of these sellers. 25 sellers here for a product that was released 6 months ago. That's, to me, proof positive that there was an adjustment in print run here. Now, that doesn't mean we won't have another adjustment. There could be other reasons for that reduction in print run. Maybe there was other products that were trying to reprint. Maybe the Paldea Evolved reprint was part of that. They only have so much bandwidth, right, to allocate to production runs, so there could be other things in here. They maybe thought that it was not going to be a banger of a set, and that there was going to be continued softness, and they they decided to just short print it and then come back with a reprint and allocate those production resources to other things. We of course don't know, but again, to me, seeing 6,300 boxes sold versus it's actually less on TCG Player than Temporal Forces, though Temporal Forces has been out longer. So, but to be fair, Twilight Masquerade is a better set for sure. Temporal Forces holds its own, but Twilight Masquerade is a premier set for sure. So again, I think there was an adjusted print run here. I just don't know if there was a reason behind that. If they saw the softness in Scarlet and Violet, wanted to reduce print runs on purpose to try to buoy that demand to show people, hey, you can't just wait out and get boxes under $100 that we want you to pre-order. We don't know, but I think that may have happened here. And then we go over to Stellar Crown. Stellar Crown was actually pretty soft. And so we've seen, I don't want to say pretty soft. It's been out. It has not been out long. It has sold over 5,000 boxes on TCG Player, but we have a ton available. So thinking overall, just thinking holistically of this, I don't know that they've made a conscious decision to pull back on every set. I think there was something else with Twilight Masquerade. There was some other demand issue on something else. They had to use production resources elsewhere, so they were going to circle back on Twilight Masquerade. Because again, look how many boxes we see here left for Stellar Crown. I mean, that's a significant amount, and it would be different if there was not the demand, but there's plenty of product sold here. Plenty of product, over 5,000 boxes for something that hasn't been out for 6 months yet, so it still has some legs. And there's a ton of product available. So I don't know that the assumption that print runs have been reduced can really hold water. What will be interesting to see is on Surging Sparks. We can't make any assumptions here. We've not had any of the big, we're pre-release still, right? We're waiting for all those other sellers to come online on TCG Player, and then we'll have a better scope here on product. But we've only seen 2,900 boxes sold. Now, I don't have any numbers on what that compares to with other sets pre-sale. Compared to like Twilight Masquerade, it's only 50% of all boxes sold. So we don't know. I think there's a lot of money waiting. I've said this before. There's a lot of money waiting in the wings on Surging Spark because of that high price point, right? People are just, hey, I'm not willing to pay $161 for a product before it's even released. When we have product from Scarlet and Violet that's been easily achievable under $100 for forever, for its entire life cycle. So I think there's a lot of price memory going on here. Some people are probably going to be priced out thinking that this is going to drop to that $120, $130 price point again, and I don't see that happening. I would be very, very shocked if it does. So I think we need to circle back on this one to see if there's any data here that really tells us if this could have been short printed. There have been some channels like Nostalgianomics and others who have said, hey, it is short printed. We're getting allocated more on our product. And I think we have to be careful making that assumption with that information. Yes, he's got some good tie-ins with distributors, but it's still a sample size of one. And if everyone is demanding more of this product, every store is asking for more of this product, then there could be less product going around. Meaning there's just the slivers of the pie are going to be smaller. Okay, it doesn't mean the pie is smaller necessarily. It could still have happened. Again, Twilight Masquerade is proof positive that there was a short printing of something in Scarlet and Violet. It's just we don't know why. Does Pokemon Company, do they know that these are going to be fantastic sets? They're putting their eggs in one basket and they're short printing and holding back product on purpose to try to drive up that demand and make sure that we have some of these banger sets? It's possible. We just don't know. So yeah, so this was just an exercise to kind of talk through some of the data we have available. We can't make any solid, determinations on this. We can only inference based on the information that we're seeing here, but TCG Player data doesn't really support a hard line in the sand regarding a reduction of print numbers necessarily. It does show a shift in volume and a shift in money over time from a Sword and a Shield. That is real. That is, I think, represented in the volume data here. So that's it for today. Let me know what you think, and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you can. It's always appreciated, or not. Either way, that's fine with me, and we'll see you on the next one.